Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. Chapter 10, The Bodhisattva of Clean Karma. The Bodhisattva of clean karma, who was in the assembly, rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, circled him thrice from the right, bowed down upon his knees, brought together his two palms with crossed fingers and said, "O world-honored one of great compassion, you have fully expounded to us the inconceivable deeds of all Tathagatas from the cause ground, so that the whole assembly can hear what they have never heard before, and can see the tamer of passions passing through eons of arduous toil, as many as the sand grains of the river Ganges, with all his practices and achievements unfolded in an instant, thus rejoicing us, the Bodhisattvas in this assembly. World-honored one, if this nature of enlightenment was fundamentally pure and clean, why is it contaminated and soiled, thus causing all living beings to be deluded, perplexed, and unable to enter it? May the world-honored one thoroughly awaken us to the Dharma nature, or Dharmata, so that this assembly and future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination can use your teaching as our guiding eye in the future." After saying these words, he again made the same prostration and the same request for a second and third time. The world-honored one then said to the Bodhisattva clean karma, "Excellent! Excellent! Virtuous man, it is good that you are able to ask the Tathagata for such an expedient explanation for the benefit of this assembly, and also that of future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination. Listen attentively to what I now say." The Bodhisattva of clean karma was filled with joy upon hearing this. He and the assembly kept silent to hear the teaching. The Buddha said, "Virtuous man, since the time without beginning, all living beings have been clinging wrongly to the reality of an ego, of a man, of a being, and of a life. They regard these four inverted illusions as their real bodies, thereby giving rise to like and dislike. Because of this false body, they cling to further falsehood, and the two falsities, by relying on each other, create false karmas. Because of false karmas, they falsely perceive the turning wheel of samsara. When they are bored with samsara, they falsely perceive nirvana. Therefore, they are unable to enter the state of pure and clean enlightenment. It is not the latter that opposes and rejects them, but it is because of their clinging to a subject that can enter it. Since they grasp this entering subject, no entry by their bodhi nature is possible. For this reason, both the stirring and stopping of thoughts cause delusion and perplexity. Why is it? Because since the time without beginning, there has been self-rising basic ignorance, which acts as their master. All living beings are born without eyes of wisdom, and their bodies and minds are the embodiment of ignorance. For instance, no man wants to take his own life. Therefore, you see, the result is that we agree with those liking us, and we hate and resent those contradicting us. Because of like and dislike, ignorance is preserved. As this ignorance continues, it is impossible to realize anything in one's quest of the truth. Virtuous man, what is the ego? It is what the mind of a living being experiences as existing. Virtuous man, for instance, when a man is healthy, he forgets all about the body of his ego. When his forelimbs are not in a good state, or when he is unwell, if he is cauterized with moksha, the pain will cause his ego to be felt as existing. Therefore, the ego only manifests when it is experienced. Virtuous man, the mind which can realize even the Tathagata state and can perceive clearly pure and clean nirvana is but an ego. Virtuous man, what is personality? It is the mind that is aware of such experience. Virtuous man, when it is awakened to the presence of an ego, it will no longer recognize it. Not only is the object thus evidenced not an ego, but also the evidencing subject also ceases to be one. Thus, all awareness that is beyond evidencing at this stage is personality. Virtuous man, even when the mind is perfectly aware of nirvana as its own self, if a little bit of awareness is retained in the former, it will be but a personality, in spite of a thorough understanding of the identity of nirvana with the true self according to the fundamental law. Virtuous man, what is a being? It is the mind which is beyond the previous experience and realization. Virtuous man, if, for example, a man says, "I am a living being," we know that he who speaks of a living being is neither the I nor another man. Why is he not the I? Because he says, "I am a living being," and is therefore not the I. Why is he not another personality? Because he says, "I am a living being," and is therefore neither the self nor another man. Virtuous man, the state that can be experienced and realized by the mind belongs to an ego and to a personality. That which is beyond the I and a man and retains the knowledge of something is called a being. Virtuous man, what is a life? It is the mind now looking into its purity and cleanness. Although it is aware of the three previous objectives, its karmic awareness does not perceive itself and lingers like a root for life. Virtuous man, the introspecting mind that perceives all objects as defilements is also impure because it does not keep from them. When boiling water melts ice, the latter disappears completely. The ice, knowing its own melting, is like the mind perceiving the I and its awareness of it. Virtuous man, future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination who do not understand the above four states will fail to realize any of the stages of sainthood in spite of their strenuous efforts in self-cultivation in many eons. Hence, the ending period of the right Dharma. Why is it? Because they wrongly hold that all aspects of the I are nirvana, and they mistake their experiencing and realization for achievements. For example, when a man regards a thief as his own son, his own wealth and treasure cannot be preserved. Why is it? Where there is love of the ego, there is also love of nirvana, for this idea of nirvana is hidden in the love of the I. Where there is hate of the ego, there is also hate of samsara. They do not know that love is the real cause of samsara. If samsara is singled out for their hate, they will not achieve liberation. How can they know why Dharma does not liberate them? Virtuous man, future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination who achieve some little progress in their practice of bodhi and regard it as completely pure and clean have not yet entirely eradicated the basic ego. If someone praises their Dharma, they will be happy and will immediately want to liberate the praiser. If someone censures their achievements, they will be filled with anger and resentment. Thus, you will know that the concept of an ego is firmly grasped, is still hidden in the storehouse of all knowledge, or alaya vijnana, and is wandering in the fields of all sense organs without interruption. Virtuous man, therefore, those practicers of the Tao who do not eliminate their conception of an ego cannot enter the state of pure and clean enlightenment. Virtuous man, if the ego is known as void, no one can slander the I. However, if the I is grasped as the expounder of Dharma, the ego is still not eliminated. In such a case, the conception of a man, a being, and a life are all present. Virtuous man, future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination will expound their own illnesses which they mistake for the Dharma. They are, therefore, the most pitiable people. Although they are diligent in their practice, they will only aggravate their illnesses and will consequently be unable to enter the state of pure and clean Bodhi. Virtuous man. Future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination who are not clear about these four conceptions and who use the Tathagata's interpretation and conduct in their self-cultivation will fail to achieve it. There are also living beings who claim they have realized and experienced what they really have not. They are jealous when they see others advancing satisfactorily in self-cultivation. Because of their failure to cut off their love of the I, they will not be able to enter the state of pure and clean enlightenment. Virtuous man, future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination who hope to realize the truth should not seek awakening, for which they will want to increase their knowledge by hearing about it, and will thereby strengthen their view of the I. They should strive vigorously to advance in self-cultivation, to overcome their klesha, to pluck up their dauntless courage, to attain what they have not attained, to cut off what they have failed to cut off, to refrain from giving rise to desire, anger, love, arrogance, flattery, crookedness, envy, and jealousy in all situations, and to sink all love between themselves and others into the conditions of stillness and passionlessness. The Buddha says they will thus achieve success gradually and will not fall into perverted views in their quest of learned masters. Where there is longing, like and dislike will follow and will prevent their entry into the state of the pure and clean Bodhi ocean. To repeat his instruction, the Buddha read the following gatha. Clean karma, you should know that all beings, because of their self-love, have been transmigrating since the time without beginning. Non-eradication of the four conceptions prevents them from attaining Bodhi. Rise of like and of dislike preserves their flattering and crooked thoughts, and so delusion and perplexity prevail, preventing their entry into Bodhi town. To return to the awakening land, first pluck out desire, stupidity, and anger. Getting rid of love of Dharma makes gradual achievement easy. Our bodies being non-existent, how then can like and dislike rise? Such practicers, when seeking learned masters, fall not into perverted views. Success can never be achieved while longing stirs in the mind.